Greetings once again, everyone. Welcome to Midweek Moments with St. John's Baptist Church of Charlotte, North Carolina. My name is Dennis Foust, and I have the unique blessing and privilege of serving the people of St. John's as senior minister. I am missing seeing you. Today's Midweek Moments is just sort of a video pastoral letter. I've not written out any script for this session. I just have some things that I want to make sure you know about what's going on in the life of the church. A few things I want to say to some distinct communities within our fellowship. Some words that I want to just offer to several of you. And so if you listen in, hopefully I'll give some new information, some updated information, and just help all of us hopefully stay in touch a little bit with what all is going on in the life of St. John's right now. First of all, I am missing seeing you and being with you. I miss the handshakes and the smiles and the hugs, the time together, the small talk in the hallways, the busyness, the children. I miss the children. I miss the youth. I miss the wonderful ways in which we interact as an intergenerational church, the way we love one another, the greeting as you come into the building, the friendliness, everything about being St. John's. I am missing of our gathered time. And I know you are too. And when I speak with you, I hear all kinds of readiness and willingness to gather. And I promise you, we will do so when it seems as if it's the best safe time to do so. And we're just working through and walking through this together. Every time that we enter a new month, with August going to be upon us here in a couple of days, every time we enter a new month, I almost sense myself, and I think I sense the whole planet, taking another breath as if, okay, we have another month that we're going to go through this. When we get to August 13th, that will begin the 6th month since several of us realized, okay, we cannot worship this Sunday, and congregations all across our city and the nation started deciding we could not gather. I'm fully aware that some congregations have decided to regather. I'm also aware, as I speak with ministers all the time, of some who have regretted that they've already started meeting and they've had breakouts, some of them more private, some of them more public, some of them very public. Some have decided, well, people aren't showing up, so we're going to go back to online. Some are continuing, but they're having so few people show up that they're wondering if it's truly any time together that's quality, but it's providing opportunity to gather. I am in contact with several congregations of our size and larger in our city who have already determined they will not be gathering for worship until at least 2021. I do want to say to you, we have not made that decision. We have our COVID-19 task force. This is 30 members of the church, including about a dozen medical professionals and the deacon leadership, church staff, some other persons in leadership roles in the life of the church who've been involved in safety and security and administrative decisions. And we're all talking together, and we've made good recommendations. We've now released those to you. We will be, after Labor Day, and when the state gets to phase 3, we will begin offering additional outdoor opportunities for people to gather. But most likely that's going to be later in September when the temperatures cool a little bit, and when we've allowed people to go back to work a little bit more. We'll see what happens with schools restarting. Some people are going to be online again, and some people back in the classroom, some people both and. So we're just going to see what kind of trickles out over the next few weeks. I want to assure you that no one is missing being together more than I am, but I know all of us are missing that. And I wish I had just a date and a cut and dry answer, but I just don't. I can assure you we are following the medical protocols, and we are listening to our medical professionals more than we're listening to anyone else, because they're the ones who are out on the front lines and seeing this straight away. And I will say to you, we've now had several folks in our congregation who have been diagnosed with COVID-19. The good news is no one has had a life-threatening case as of yet. We do have a 97-year-old member of our congregation right now, Elizabeth Laney, who's been diagnosed with COVID-19. Please be in prayer for Elizabeth and James, her son. She has what they tell us is a light case, but because several at Plantation Estates have now been diagnosed with it again, that continuing care retirement community has been closed down again. And so family members and visitors are not allowed in, even though they had opened up somewhat. That's now closed. So we're just trying to be safe. And we had a Brotherhood of the Biscuit gathering last night, and we had several people there. We wore our masks, and then we were physically distant. Even though we were outside, we eventually felt like we were at distance enough that we could remove our mask from one another. I officiated a service this morning in our memorial garden as we remembered the life and ministry of Pat Lloyd. And we all wore our mask except for when I was speaking, so they could understand what I was saying to them. It's just a unique and a difficult time, and I miss you. But I'm trying to work with you and with leaders of the church in ways every day that will help our ministry go forward in healthy ways, in transformational ways, and also projecting ahead in every way we can. We will use August and early September to make preparations to see what we can do in the latter half of September and then moving forward. We've talked about some ideas of smaller gatherings, even indoors in the sanctuary, but we're just going to have to wait and see what is safe. We just must do so. Well, you are being actively faithful in the meanwhile, and that doesn't surprise me. That's the kind of people you are. And so that is normal for you. You are involved in ministry in all kinds of ways. I'm seeing several of you on Zoom calls. We've made decisions. We've moved forward. We're still moving forward in numerous ways. I want to just use a little bit of time here today to review with you several thoughts. With school beginning, I just want to say a word to those of you who are families that your children are in school. You're debating whether do you send them into the classroom or do you do online. Some of you have students that are going off to college for the first time or returning to college, and I'm in touch with some of you, and I know that's a difficult decision and challenging time as well for them and for you. I'm wanting to be attentive. I want to be helpful. Our whole ministry staff wants to be attentive and helpful to you and supportive and encouraging in any way that we are needed. But I cannot imagine for you as parents with school-age children, especially young children. And talked to one family recently that an elementary child, a middle schooler, and a high schooler, and trying to help figure out how to manage all of that while parents are working in the home as well. And so our hearts go out to you. You're in my prayers every day. And if you need an encouraging word or a listening ear, please know your ministry staff and other members of this congregation are here for you as we walk these days together. I want to say a word to our children. Children, your support of your parents and you taking school seriously and you knowing that everyone's having to be a little bit more patient with one another right now. I'm so proud of the stories I'm hearing about you. I know that this summer has not been like any other, and I know last school year didn't end correctly, and I know this next school year is not going to end, it's not going to begin in the way in which we had hoped either. But children, I just want you to know how proud I am of you, and how much we want to be caring for what you're going through, because you're experiencing this in your own skin too, in your own way. And while we as adults can get confused and frustrated, we know you do also. So thanks for being patient with us as adults. Help out your moms and dads and grandparents, and just help us all get through this together. You're having to learn some things that we didn't expect you were going to have to learn, but thank you for helping us. A word to the youth. All of those plans for summer activities and camps and mission trips that were postponed, beginning a new school year in a different way, all of the freedoms that you would like to have in gathering with friends that are not normal right now. I'm sorry it's this way, but I'm thankful for what I've been able to hear about how you're handling this and being patient with one another and trying to manage things best you can. You are an extremely loving, healthy, generous youth group. And I look forward to being with you again very soon, I hope. I'm appreciative of the ways you've worked with Lee in this transition in recent months. And I look forward to you being able to work with Nate Dove as he begins his ministry with us in these weeks. I know that he has already reached out to some of you and will be opening himself to reach out to each of you. So I hope that that goes well for you and your household in the next few weeks. For those of you that are young adults and young families raising children and going through this time, please know that others of us in the church that have raised our children, sent them out on their way, we want to be supportive of you and encouraging. And Paula and I have thought a few times, I wonder if somebody just needs us to watch their kids for a little while. If you don't have grandparents close by, or if grandparents also need a break. We are offering ourselves to say, how can we be helpful with your children? And I know there are others in St. John's who feel the same way. We just want to help you come through this time. For all of our families and all of our households, again, I miss you. And, I wish I could snap my fingers or twitch my nose or make it all go away. But we just can't. But we're going to be patient with one another and supportive of each other. To those of you living in continuous care retirement communities, one of the things that I'm hoping to do as these next weeks move forward is that some of us on ministry staff might be able just to call you and stand outside the window and wave to you from the yard or down on the lawn if you can look out a picture window from your apartment. And we can just talk to you a few minutes on the cell phone and see you and let you see us, and then we'll move on to the next resident. But right now, so many of our retirement communities are not wanting us to even do that. And so in time, we will make sure those kinds of conversations happen. Again, maybe after Labor Day, that becomes easier because the temperatures will be a little bit more moderate. Our COVID-19 task force has been working diligently over several months now. We have, with the staff and with Chris's support and Jacqueline's support and others on staff, Deborah, we have been able to put in place no contact paper towel dispensers. Bert Green has gone through the buildings and marked our pews, so when we're able to gather, we know how we can sit in the space and have safe physical distance. We've had a couple of members, again, Bert Green and Jeff Levy, as well as Chris, have installed some hand sanitizer stations in the lobbies and the entrance points and in restrooms, as we enter or leave the sanctuary, outside those doors as well. We're trying to care for our custodians, and that's part of the dilemma of this, folks. Just remember that if we gather, our custodians then have to clean up after us, and they have to sanitize everything. And so for Chris and Deborah, right now we're trying to not expose them to what potentially might be left behind by us any more than is necessary. We do have plans, though, already in place as to what we will do when we regather to make sure that we're taking precautions and being safe. The COVID-19 task force has developed procedures. They have identified some websites that are trustworthy for you to look at as resources, because you can have all kinds of information that's not substantial or cannot be substantiated right now. We have our recommendations, and then beyond these recommendations, we've even laid out details of how to implement each recommendation and sketches of our facilities as to how we enter and how we exit and how we move among one another in safe ways. Allison reports some things to us, and I want to share these with you. Several adult learning groups are meeting on Zoom, and if your group would like to know how to do Zoom gatherings and does not know how, Allison has a group of folks that can help her teach you and help your group make this happen. Our spiritual growth team, resource team, is a new group, and it's being enlisted right now, and we're excited about that. Our weekday and Head Start preschool ministries down on the first floor, they've started back this summer with smaller groups, and they're now making arrangements. How do you help teachers who also have children in school at home still teach the preschool classes and care for their children that are on Zoom with their schoolwork? So we're trying to work together, and Allison's working with those directors and those processes and the boards. Allison is also involved, as you'll know, on the Storytelling Tuesdays. We thank her for being so diligent in that. And she's writing an online curriculum resource for children for this autumn to try to help our parents and children when we are able to return back to learning again in a few weeks. Kevin reports some things. Of course, he's involved in weekly worship planning. Every Wednesday night, he and some choir members have a Zoom call just to stay in touch, and can't sing together yet, but we can have some conversations. He's also working on a virtual choir project, and eventually this will involve a national watch party. So we'll keep you informed as that unfolds. He's developing an online course about the history of church music, and he'll be offering this in a few weeks. It'll be 2 sessions of about 45 minutes each, but he will video those classes, and you'll be informed when those are available. He's also working with some people for some online concerts that will be offered later in August and September. These will most likely be 30-minute concerts, but we'll put them on as midweek moments in 10-minute sessions. And he's also has this brilliant idea of an online or live streamed variety show by members, showing different talents and skills and abilities that we have that will happen sometime in the autumn. Derek Henson, some of you have gotten to know Derek. Derek is already a part-time staff member helping us as administrative assistants, but while Mallory, our communications coordinator, is out, Derek is handling her role as well as his own. And so Derek is working on realm details and trying to make sure that all of that information is accurate, sending out posts, getting the family news together, updating our website and our Facebook page, tending to our prayer list, and keeping us up to date with church-wide emphases. And so we're grateful for all that Derek is doing during this time. Jacqueline, we know, works hard every day, and she's going in a couple of times a week and getting the mail and making bank deposits, posting giving, paying bills, also overseeing and coordinating what's going on with people coming and going from the building, emphasizing our protocols that are essential. Bills are being paid, and Jacqueline wants you to know that your giving is so faithful, and we're all appreciative of that. But she watches it every day as your faithfulness and financial support of the church's ministries continue to be strong. Thank you. She reports that the what we've been referring to as E.T.'s tent on the chapel hall after we had that water problem over there, that painting is now being redone, and they have done some repairs. And E.T.'s tent, that plastic area in the hallway, has now been removed, and we're making good progress to get that part of the building back in restored. She is carefully making sure that all funds and expenses are being reviewed. We're conserving our expenses in every way we can, and we're taking special efforts to take care of our finances as a church. Some of you will remember back at the beginning of this COVID-19 pandemic, there was an opportunity, including congregations, to apply for PPP funds. We did so, and we received about $156,000. That allowed us to continue to pay our weekday teachers because they could not get unemployment benefits. It allowed us to continue to pay them. And we have used that money accurately and appropriately. If we get to the end of this pandemic time and our financial giving continues to be strong and we have money left over, we have already made decisions and conversations about what we would want to do with that money if it is a forgiven loan. If that money needs to be repaid, we will of course repay it. But if it is money that we have left over when it's done, when all of this is done, then we're going to look around and identify who was most impacted by this pandemic and try to make some missional decisions about faithful stewardship with any extra income that may result from this. Lee, as you know, has just completed, don't we love Lee? Lee has just completed 22 years of ministry among our youth and young adults, and now begins this new journey of congregational care ministry in the life of our church. He's already transitioning into this role. He's been calling several of our older members. He's been working with our pastoral deacons, been in conversations with women of the church as to how he can be helpful with them and some of their older members of that group. And he and I are in conversation about a continuing education plan and conversations that we will have and have with others as well. And we're enlisting a congregational care resource team to be attentive and help Lee as we initiate new ministries here. So that's an important time in our congregation's ministry as we begin to do congregational care with a lot more intentionality. And then Nate Dove has now joined us, and he and Emma are actually closing on their Noda townhome today, and will be having their furniture delivered on Monday. And so their transition continues, but it's toward the end. So we are excited about them now being in Charlotte with us. There are some youth parents who are assisting Nate as he is seeking to make appointments to be able to come into homes and sit down with parents and youth, or in the backyard or on the back porch or somewhere, and have a physical distancing meetup so he can become acquainted with each youth household, get to know you as parents and as youth. And so that list, you can look for that and contact the parents, I think, that are assisting there are Autumn Sweet and Ming Calloway. Maybe there's some others, but you can contact them or be in touch, look at the family news and on our website for how to make that appointment. Nate is also having conversations already with some of our young adult leaders and beginning those conversations as to how do we begin to ramp up and increase our emphasis of ministry with young adults. I will be having a conversation with Nate and Emma Dove very soon, and we'll videotape that. Just kind of be an introduction conversation, and then we'll play that for a couple of weeks as midweek moments entries in the next few weeks. Leadership enlistment for a new church year is taking place right now. Todd Stillerman's been leading that so well, as he always does. We have now enlisted our deacons for the coming year, and you've seen that in the family news this week. Sunday school ministry leaders are just about to complete being enlisted, and we're enlisting all of our resource teams. The church council has been at work, as you know, with our COVID-19 task force. They've been part of that, as well as a statement on systemic racism and some initiatives we've already taken and others that we will be taking to make sure that we are actively involved in addressing causes of and results of systemic racism. I want to make one statement here about Black Lives Matter. I know there is an attempt to simply say that's a political statement, but in conversations with our African American members, our Black members, I want to just say to you, I've sat down now with several people around that phrase, and what often happens is people will say Black Lives Matter and then say all lives matter and Black Lives Matter as if Black Lives Matter is an afterthought. We're trying to invest our energies in the reality that Black lives matter as much as every other life matters. But until Black lives matter as much as every other skin color matters in our country, then we need to continue to echo the phrase that Black lives matter. And it's not trying to take one side of a political argument or another. And it's not trying to say that some people matter more than others. It is simply trying to say we must care more than we have cared in the past. And so that's my pastoral statement about that. Our deacons are always active, and Jason Benton, chair of our diaconate, has done a marvelous job this year of leading through this time. It's not an easy year to lead, but Jason's done splendid. The pastoral deacons have made calls and are making calls and staying in touch with their flocks. Some families seem to need more care and some need less, and so our pastoral deacons are trying to be attentive. Our ministry deacons are active in all kinds of ways. We even have some that are involved in mission resource team that are pastoral deacons or ministry deacons, and some are planning for our centennial in 2022. All kinds of projects are taking place with our ministry deacons and others serving alongside them. Our administrative deacons are also involved in several projects. I work with several of these groups, and I can't even go down the list and tell you what all is going on. Personnel, because of the transitions with Allison moving into spiritual growth, Lee moving into congregational care, Nate joining our ministry staff team. We're working with personnel to take some assessments and do some scoring analysis and identify how do our work styles blend as we begin to gel as a new team beginning in new roles. So that's one of the things going on behind the scenes right now. Just a lot of efforts are taking place. One of the things that I'm tending to, and I know you all are attentive to, is the fact that we have these new members now joining with us, and we want to reach out to them. And so I hope that you're doing that and helping them feel assimilated into the life of the church. We've had 11 new members during this pandemic, and I have others that are saying to me, we are getting close to making the decision about church membership. And so that's exciting, but it also means that we need to continue to reach out to make sure people feel included. So thank you for helping with that. We're also losing some members. We've had some members move away as the Scotts moved up to Raleigh, and as Benji and Molly moved up to begin his degree work at Duke. We've had others who've needed to join their families in one way or another. And we've had 8 deaths among our membership. Harry Barr, Edith Breckenridge, Richard or Rick Kennedy, Carolyn Hicks, Alice Jordan, Janie Kendrick, Pat Lloyd, and Linda Walker. We've also had several members of our congregation who have lost parents and siblings. Some of our members have lost close relatives, parents and uncles and so on, to COVID-19. And so we are especially attentive to these in prayer and in our support. Our online presence continues in worship and midweek moments and storytelling Tuesdays and Zoom calls. I got an email the other day congratulating me on my 500th Zoom call. I knew it had been a lot. I had not counted up to 500, but I got the message. Our Facebook page, our immigration task force, they're doing good work with video interviews and some information and articles that they've developed. They're doing good work. You may notice in this week's family news of our Refugee Support Services initiative, where you can go to a certain place on Wednesdays and not even get out of your car, just have what they need in your trunk, pop your trunk, let the volunteers there or their staff get it out of your trunk and close your trunk, and you pull off. And so this is a new effort that our mission resource team is initiating and giving us the opportunity to do one more way of serving. Our global mission offering is active right now, and our goal is $15,000. We've reached this goal every year, and every year we set a goal, we reach that goal, and so I'm sure we'll reach this goal eventually. I think we're right at $4,000 thus far. I would remind you that this goal this year goes to support the teachers that are working in the community school in Narwang, South Sudan. We have kind of adopted this school and these teachers. A school that we thought might have 100 to 200 students in it now has over 500. And so please read those articles and make your gifts as you're able to our global mission offering. And then last, I want to just remind you of this emphasis that I brought forward last week, that St. John's is one, this one anothering. How can we use this time in ways of making sure that even though we are not able to gather and we're scattered, how can we still be one and make sure that we're one church, one in Jesus Christ? So at 1 o'clock, what we're trying to do is say, if you can make this discipline happen in the 1 o'clock hour, use that hour and do something that is a one another. You might call someone or write a note or send an email or a text. Do something that sort of says you're thinking of someone else. And you might consider who are those people that might not be thought of by everyone else. And do something of one anothering. Send an encouragement note or a support note, even to a child or a teenager as they're restarting school in a few weeks. I had a church member in a conversation the other day say, I don't sleep well at night, and so I think when I get up in the night, I'm going to do something like that too. Maybe I'll start waking up in the 1 o'clock hour however you want to do one another. And I just think that's important for us to do everything we can to stay in touch with one another, support one another, pray for one another, care for one another during this time. And I'm grateful. I am so grateful for you all being the kind of people you are, the mature faith people that you are. Thank you for how you love me and how you work with me. Thank you for how you support this staff as we seek to serve you. And thank you for serving us as well as we try to be your servants in community. You are a loving people and you are an actively faithful people. So let me just sign off now by saying I love you. I miss you. But thanks for listening. I just felt the need as we kind of close out this month and enter another, and as we prepare in August to get ready for a beginning of a new church year, that I just wanted to review with you these points of information and speak to you a little bit from the heart to your heart. Shalom.